mahirap ito i-manage. But itong mga 10, 11, 12, pwede na yan sila sa TV.
Hello everyone. Good evening. I'm Pia Renada. Welcome to Rappler Recap. And for this episode, what I want to do is to give you a recap of what President Duterte just said in his speech, in his remarks during an IATF meeting earlier today in Davao City. So again, the speech was not aired live. It was only aired hours after the meeting itself. So, I'm going to give you a recap of what happened, what he talked about. And siguro para neat lang yung ating discussion, gagawin ko is yung unang part of this recap, i-summarize ko yung mga sinabi ni Presidente. And then after that, I will explain kung ano yung mga sinabi ng mga ibang officials in the meeting. So these are the IATF or the Pandemic Task Force officials who were reporting to the President about the pandemic and about their efforts to bring in a vaccine. So, first, dun kay Duterte, what did the president say? So, the first thing he did, or one of the first and most important thing he did, was to explain his stance on yung recent decision ng IATF to allow 10 to 14-year-olds to leave the house. So, I'm sure if you've seen the headlines, malaking news yung fact that the IATF unanimously decided to allow 10 to 14-year-olds to go out, to go to the malls, to go to restaurants. And the Trade Department was saying that it's because they think this decision will spur economic activity in the country. So the president said he does not agree with that. He is overturning that decision and basically reimposing the stay-at-home orders for 10 to 14-year-old kids. So yung reason that he cited was because of the new COVID-19 virus variant which was recently detected in the Philippines. And in fact, a few days before his speech, yung health department confirmed that 16 more cases were found in the Philippines, and most of them were from the mountain province. So ito yung reason kung bakit he decided to stay safe and as a precaution, just no longer allow 10 to 14-year-olds to go out. He made a point to say that he is not blaming his economic team for incompetence. So talagang sinabi niya, I am compelled. This is not because they are incompetent. And then he also said that the rule will stay until there is a vaccine. And then he also apologized for the inconvenience that it would cause parents and the fact that kumbaga like na natigil yung family bonding or allowing kids to play and be active outside their homes. So he was basically, he also said in fact na yung age group na yan, they can just stay home and stay glued to the television all day. He really said that. And he said that he asked for patience of the public for this reimposition of a strict rule. And then after that, he read the list of personnel accused of corruption at the ombudsman level. This is something he does at every pandemic meeting, even if hindi siya related to the pandemic, because he wants to, diba, like, make his corruption campaign kind of on the forefront. And then he also scolded or basically he got mad at people who are scamming the government. So yung specific example niya is people daw who use names of officials to get through certain processes or to get certain benefits from the government. So yung sinabi niya, they should be stabbed, he says. He said that huwag yun na sila i-shoot, just stab them. Direct quote is, saksakin na lang ninyo, ito yung mga parasites, mga linta, and they thrive on the gullible. So there was just a short part where he basically condemned or threatened people who scam the government. Then towards the end, he talked about Senate inquiries, Senate investigations. And I think this is in response to certain senators siguro saying that, these Senate hearings, they have a point, diba? We do them because we want to get to the bottom of certain controversies. We want to know exactly what the executive branch is doing. It's part of our job as the check and balance of the executive branch. And Duterte basically wanted to react to that. So sinabi niya, far from it actually, you just muddled it, ginugulo ninyo. So he's basically saying, hindi naman totoo yan that you do these hearings because you really want to get to the bottom of things. You're actually just doing it to muddle people's heads about certain issues. And of course, we know where he's coming from. He's basically still hurt or still angered by the fact that the Senate decided to investigate or look into his government's vaccination program. So, and we know that part of this is his anger at, or his fear maybe, that the Senate wants to investigate his presidential security group for yung vaccination nila na unauthorized in secret. So, we all know how, diba, how outraged he was at the Senate for even suggesting that they want to investigate his security aides. He threatened, or he ordered his security aides not to participate or not to cooperate with that investigation. Okay. And then now we go on to the second part of the recap, which is explaining kung ano yung mga sinabi ng mga other officials, specifically the pandemic task force officials during that meeting. And the most important thing would be from Health Secretary Francisco Duque. And he said, he basically named the provinces and cities which are in danger of being upgraded to a stricter quarantine classification. And the first of this are two provinces and one city that Duque says is nearing or is at critical level of healthcare utilization rate. So ito yung Davao de Oro, Compostela Valley, and Baguio City. Basically, Duque said that yung healthcare utilization rates ng areas na to are already at critical level, which means 85% or above. This means that 85% or above of their hospital capacity for COVID-19 patients is already occupied. So, 15% na lang yung natitira, 15% or less ang natitira sa kanilang COVID-19 hospital bed capacity. And usually, based on the DOH's own guidelines, the IATF subgroup's own guidelines about when to upgrade quarantine classifications, pag nag-critical na yung level ng isang city or province, this is the time that they will be elevated to ECQ. Okay, the strictest quarantine classification in the country. Now, I'm not saying that these three places will be under ECQ in February. I'm just saying that they fulfilled one criteria for a possible upgrade. Kasi maraming, there are other factors that the IATF considers on whether or not to put it under ECQ. It could be that even if they're at critical care, that they're at the critical level, the fact that they're economic hubs of the region kind of persuades the task force, or could persuade the task force, that maybe we shouldn't make it that strict kasi grabe yung dependence ng ibang regions economically on this city or on this province. So so we will just have to await the final decision of the president on whether or not these three areas will in fact be under ECQ starting February 1. But Duque also mentioned two places that hit the high level of healthcare utilization rate, meaning healthcare utilization rate that is 70 to 84% occupied. And itong two areas na to ay ang Nueva Vizcaya and Agusan del Norte. So usually pag high level or high risk for in healthcare utilization rate means that they can be upgraded to MECQ level. So we will have to await if that is really going to be their fate this February. But just take note that this is around the time when the IATF decides on these things. Kasi dapat before Feb 1, i-announce na ni Presidente kung ano yung quarantine classifications for the entire Philippines, including Metro Manila, Cebu City, Davao City. Okay, what did the other officials say? Number one, vaccine czar Carlito Galvez Jr. basically told the president that the Philippines has enough cold storage facilities to receive and distribute the vaccines that require ultra cold storage, which are the Pfizer and Moderna vaccines. So nagbibigay lang siya ng update that he and Secretary Duque went around inspecting pharma-grade cold storage facilities of mga private sector companies. And then lastly, Defense Secretary Delfin Lorizana also gave an update. Basically, he was saying that the military accepted the offer of the private sector, i.e. Presidential Advisor for Entrepreneurship, Joey Concepcion, to train their soldiers, to train the military to help with the vaccination drive. So basically, si Lorenzana was saying that yung military tutulong sa paghatid ng vaccines to the different provinces, and the businessmen offered their expertise or their consultants' expertise to train these soldiers to do just that. And sabi niya that the training will in fact start in a few days, and it should be finished by the time the vaccines arrive and the country starts its vaccination drive. So that's all we heard from the from the meeting today. I hope that I was able to wrap up what happened in a clear manner, and I hope that you learned something from this Rappler Recap. Again, we'll be doing this more often every time I speech si Presidente or may very complicated Senate or House hearing. We will give you a summary of what happened so that you don't have to, if you don't have time, diba, you don't have to watch the whole thing and tire yourself out. But of course, we would love for you to watch these things, get the primary sources, but maybe you can take these recaps as a kind of lead to what you want to find out in those long proceedings. So again, thank you for watching. I'm Pia Renada. Good night.